So I'm Renay Richardson. I am the CEO of Broccoli Productions. I am a podcast producer. I make podcasts, basically. So how did I get into this industry? I worked in the film and TV industry for like 15 years beforehand, child actor to talent agency to production company to working on productions. And then I was going to retire, and I trained as a barista, and I was going to open a vegan cafe. And while I was doing that, I was looking at like, little shops to rent around Hackney. And when I was doing that, my friend who was on a production that I worked at a production company, and she was the production manager. She went on to a new production and was like, "Oh, could you just help out?" And I was like, "Well, I might as well, because I've not started the cafe yet." So that's how I got into the production side. Once I was in there, it just carried on. And once you do one job, they ask you to do another one. You're like, "Oh, I might as well carry on doing that one." And then a job at Acast came across my email, and I was like, "Oh, this seems interesting. Podcasts, new app, that seems cool." So I went for a coffee with the guy who was starting the London office. It was the husband of someone I'd worked with at a talent agency. Went for a coffee with him and got the job. And so I was the first content manager at Acast. And from there, I filled the app with shows. And then kind of at that time, no one understood advertising on podcasts. So like our job was to go around and say like, "Hey, you can advertise or start a podcast." Did that for about a year and a half. Then I worked at Audible, then at Panoply, and then I started my own job, my own company. What I learned is that you need to be able to do everything. When I worked at Acast, I couldn't make podcasts. And then when I left Acast, I was like, I'm never going to be in that position again. So from that point on, I went and learned how to make podcasts. And if there's no easy way, you make a podcast and you practice. And that's what I did, because I don't think you should work in any industry and not be able to do the thing that's in the industry. So I wouldn't work in film if I couldn't make a film. I wouldn't work in publishing if I couldn't write. But I don't think you should work in an industry if you can't do the thing that you're doing, that you're talking about. So I learned how to make a podcast, because I think if you shouldn't also be tied to any job. I am a loose cannon, because I'm not afraid of losing jobs, and I'm not afraid of finding new ones, because I know I can make podcasts. So I know I will work. I know that I can make them at my house. I can make them professionally. I can make a podcast. So I'm not worried about like whether I offend anyone or all that stuff, because I'm not afraid of losing a job. I started broccoli, I can start cauliflower. I think pitching is so dangerous. People steal your ideas. And so you've got to be really careful. And I don't know, because I just say don't pitch your good ideas, which I know isn't the best tip, but I think until you're in a position to negotiate where you don't have to give away 100% IP, I think don't pitch your good ideas cold, because they will get stolen. You can't really trademark an idea. You can trademark the finished product, you can trademark a script, you can't trademark an idea. It's like until the idea is made, it's nothing. Someone could just go and make it. So you've got to be really careful with how you pitch. It's tough. It's tough when like you're not in a position of power, because that's how they get you. Honestly, depends on. I don't pitch that often. So I think it honestly depends on who you're pitching to and if they know your work. But I would always try and say have a third party present if you are doing a meeting or if you're sending an idea, because at least then you've got a witness to whatever you're sending. But as in what makes a good pitch, I always say a show you should, which I learned from my old boss at Drama Republic, he's like, you should be able to explain your show in a sentence. If you can't, you need to work on the idea. So it's all ad at the moment. Gonna dabble in some subscription, see what that's all about. Later, well, next year. I do some work for hire, but they kind of come organically. At the moment, I honestly, my business, my plan for the business and for me and for Broccoli is to build what we're doing. So what are we known for? What shows do we make? Why do you want to work with us? First of all, then I'll figure out how you can make money doing that later. I worked at Acast, right? So I know that you need to be getting, to make money, you'd be getting like 50,000 an episode. Yeah. That's very unlikely. That's less than 1% of podcasts. So it's like, that's not realistic. So you need to figure out a way of how can you build a career in podcasting that isn't tied to numbers, like as in audience size. That's what I figured out. I was like, I need to not kind of do this. I need to get creative. What can I do? And so I did. I created Broccoli and I got funding. I got invested in. It's not impossible. Businesses get invested in all the time. Listen to Startup. Every series is a new business. So it's like you need to figure out how you can maneuver this industry, because it's not going for big audiences unless you've got big audience money or big star money. At the moment in this country, it's like, do you want the celebrity podcast? They don't really interest me to make. So it's like, that doesn't really work. Then it's like you want to do something niche, and then it's like you have to find your audience from scratch, so that it takes time. So it's like, it's not an instant hit, it takes time to grow. So you're like, how can I find ways to grow? And so it could be that you do a commission for somewhere like the BBC that doesn't have to really worry about audience numbers, because it's like publicly funded. So you can get one show across the line that can pay for you, for like cover you for your actual salary for 6 months, and then you can make another show on the side and be trying to build who you are, so that then you as a producer are attractive to like someone who maybe want to hire you, want to do a business with you, some kind of partnership, that kind of thing. But it has to be creative, because I just think the ad model is not sustainable. I just don't think it is. It can be different. We have, so B, who's now a producer at Broccoli, she started as an assistant producer and she basically assisted everything that we do. Some people, assistant producers, are just doing transcripts, some are literally just cleaning audio, some are booking guests, some are booking guests, cleaning audio and doing transcripts and being at the recording, some are doing like giving you, I don't know, helping develop the ideas, giving their input. It can be totally different, I think. It depends on like if you're hired for a company or a specific show. Also, that makes a difference. But I think the key thing to be able to do is like clean audio, like everyone as a basic. And I say that because not everyone can. And I think it's such an important thing to be able to. It's boring as hell. But if you could do it, the faster you get, at least it's over soon. Yeah, I think there are different things for produce, because some people are creative like there's all different types of producers. When I work with a producer who can't do the basics, like I do get annoyed. And so I think there is the basic is like being able to clean audio, because that's like, you know, like a chat, if you get a chat show, for example, and you can just clean the audio and it's done, and you know how to like just cut it down to like whatever it needs to be quickly, because it's not a big deal. Those kind of jobs I see more as boring than challenging, but it's challenging if you don't know how to do it. And so I just think, and there's literally no shortcut of how to do it. It's like it's how many interviews you're cutting. That's the only way to improve. I wish there was a shortcut, but there is not. So I think as long as you have the basic, when you've got that, you can kind of shape whatever you want. But it's people start to struggle if they don't have the basics down. I think there's a knowledge gap within the industry of like who can, because you even see it with producers, like white producers versus POC producers. They're just like some person of color will be held in this country, held at production assistant level for like 4 or 5 years, and then whereas a white producer will be an assistant producer for like 6 months. And then they're going up and learning. So then the knowledge gap just gets larger and larger. The only way to overcome that is by us doing it ourselves, like finding the information. So when I got into podcasts, and it's not ideal, but like it is what it is. When I got into podcasting, I went on Twitter and I met loads of Black producers in America who then so I learned Pro Tools, for example, from a producer in DC, Washington, DC. My friend Josh, works at Pineapple Street, he recommended me for one of my first freelance gigs, and it was working for Lenny Says in New York. So I had to learn how New York people make podcasts very quickly. I would say it's about networking in an organic way, but like you can find people on Twitter and you can learn from each other. Because that's the only way. What I saw with the Equality Pact was that no one wants to change. And I was like, fine, I'll stop trying to force you. And we will change ourselves. That's it. People don't want to change because everyone who signed the Equality Pact have been in audio, like all the big companies, they've been leading the industry for like the last 20, 30 years. If you wanted to change, you would have changed ages ago. They don't want to change. So it's up to us to do our own thing, but it's hard work. It is not easy. It's like when I got that first freelance job, I was also making About Race at the same time. And I was not good at editing. And I listen to it now, it's pretty rough. But it did what it needed to do. But I was going to bed at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because I was so slow at editing because I just didn't know how to do it. So I just worked on it until it was done. And now it would take me not that long, but back then I was learning. Fun fact, we didn't have any contracts. we made a verbal agreement. I used to work at a talent agency for 10 years and I understand the value of an agreement. And we made an agreement in email because do you know what? Sometimes as all you need. I think the key thing, if you don't want to work with celebrities, or it's harder for, because you've got crazy like Amazon and things, they've got like hundreds of thousands of pounds. It's hard to compete. The other skill of producers is spotting talent. So find new talent. So when I approached Reni, she was new talent. By the time we worked together, she was established talent, but I was already in there. So I would say, it's about finding people you genuinely want to work with, not because of their profile, not because of anything like that, but because they have something to say and you kind of agree with what they're saying and you want to make a show about whatever they're interested in. That's the key. And I think that's the part that people don't want to do because it's harder. I find being the CEO most challenging. Honestly, I don't like it. It's not something I want to do in life. Don't like it. There's not a single part I like of it. I'm a creative and I don't like it. I like to try things. So I wouldn't have known I didn't want to be a CEO until I became a CEO. And I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. But you need to do it to know. So right now I'm in it, but I know like whatever my next thing is, I'm not going to be the CEO of it. Definitely not. I only just recently started using pitch decks, but I had a business plan. And in my business plan, I wanted £350,000 because I was like, that will get me, I'll be able to make 2 shows and it will pay, like if I hire a person, it will do like 2 salaries for like 2 years and 2 shows. And I was like, and then with that, I'll use that to then attract someone else. Then I was like, well, hurdle, I like little steps. Let's do step by step. So I was like, I will figure out how you fund another few years later. I went in with my mindset when I created Broccoli. I didn't want to have to do work for hires. and I didn't want to rely on pitching. I knew that. So that was in my mind when I started Broccoli. I was like, I don't want to be at the whim of other people. I want to be able to fund it so that I can make what I need to make, and then we'll figure it out each time. So when I went, and what I would say for when you're starting any business or thinking about things, think about your purpose. Like, why are you doing it? What do you want? Because I think when people invest in businesses, they're not really investing in the business, they're investing in the person. So you should be able to go in and sell yourself, but not necessarily, you're not deliberately selling yourself, you're just having a meeting, and in that meeting they're just like, oh, she's amazing. So you need to have that honed from the beginning. And I always say this whenever I can advise anyone, watch the Elizabeth Holmes documentary, The Inventor. From that, watch how she got funding. She got $900 million. How did she get it? And there's so many lessons in that documentary. I've watched it like 15, 20 times by now. And one of the main things that I got before I was even pitching anyone was story. For instance, she told it to the investors. She had a story to get people to understand why she started a company. Because here's the thing, and I always say this, I am not the best producer out there. Absolutely, I'm not even the best producer in this country. I'm probably not even the best producer on this call. I am not. But I can get you to buy into me because I have vision, and I believe that I could be the best person to get to, like, whatever the vision I've told you that I want to achieve, I'm probably the best person to try and achieve that. That's what I'm the best at. And so you have to, whenever you go for any meetings, whenever you're talking to anyone, believe in yourself, like, know why you're doing what you're doing. And a lot of people don't ask themselves that. But like I said, I'm a loner. I'm just constantly asking myself questions. So whenever someone asks me a question, I've always got an answer because I've thought it through like in a million different ways. And it's even when you think of podcasts, like what project to make, it's always like, why, what's the takeaway, why you, or whatever. It's like the same thing, you do that for your business or for you as a producer, depending on what you're after. But like, know those answers and have a purpose, and then you'll be able to convey that purpose, and then the person will invest in you. And that's the key. They're not invested in their business. Have a business plan, because it's always good to, after the meeting, send them something. But you would have nailed them already in the meeting, and the business plan is just a cherry. So then basically I had a meeting, sent them a business plan, and then like I said, in my business plan I wanted 350,000, and then when I came back they offered me a 7-figure deal. So I was way underestimated, but I didn't know, like I say, there was no role model, no one to ask, so I didn't know how much you meant to ask for. But it's the story, understanding yourself and your purpose and why you're doing the thing you're doing. Get that across, and you'll be able to get anyone to invest in you.